Hello everyone, hope you are having a wonderful time. So, we are into the second lecture of week 7. So, in the week 7 we are discussing various issues, various concerns in digital marketing, and in the very first lecture we talked about the various ethical issues that that governs the digital marketing, or that is something of great concern for digital marketing area. So, today again yet again this is something again it is very important, and something which is very sensitive for any organization, for any consumer, I would rather say, data privacy and security issues. This is something which is very serious, and almost every country they are framing their own rules and regulation regarding this. We also in India have various concerning rules governing the data privacy and security issues. So, data privacy is something which is of great concern. Data privacy is something which is very sensitive and very important concern, and the security, the data security, it is of something of great concern for any organization. So, let us try to understand and discuss the data privacy and security issues. So, this is something which is very famous quotation, data is the new oil. So, nowadays we say that data is the new oil. So, oil in the sense, this definition can be understood in two different aspects. Two different aspects as such. The first is data is very important, like the oil is something which is very important for the whole economy to run, and there are many countries like the Gulf countries, they are totally based on the oil, right. So, they are oil rich countries, and obviously that turn up to to be a rich economy. So, data again it is considered to be as valuable as the oil, right. So, that in that context it is being said that data is the new oil. Also, data is the new oil not only because it is valuable, but if it is unrefined. So, Clive Humbe, he has given this quotation that data is the new oil. Like oil, data is valuable, but if unrefined it cannot really be used. So, it has to be refined, similar to the oil. So, it has to be changed into gas, plastic, chemical, etc., to create a valuable entity that drives profitable activity. So must data be broken down, analyzed for it to have value. So, basically here the another concept is we are talking about is the analysis. Also, we need to understand that data is of no use unless and until you analyze, you do analysis. Unless and until you do not do analysis, when you do analysis it becomes information. So, data in its raw form is of no use unless and until you try to do certain analysis, then only you can derive information out of it. Otherwise, data is only collection of numbers, it has no use, it has no meaning. But only if you analyze, if you use various metrics, if you use various tools and techniques, you are able to get so many insights. You can you get to understand the whole concept of the trends, the pattern, the consumer pattern, taste and behavior, all those things you are going to get if you are going to analyze it properly. That is what Mr. Humby must have been trying to make parity between the data and the oil. So, such is the important is the data that company can get leverage and it can get benefit out of it, but there is problem of data breach, data privacy concerns are there, data security concerns are there. So, here you can see some of the newspaper cuttings I have tried to share here. These are the recent ones, apart from some of them, but only I think the Facebook one, otherwise most of them are the recent ones. Probably 2 days back this board data breach has happened, right. So, see, board data breach where 75 lakh board customer for sale at €2, it was available on some black web or something like that. So Microsoft data breach was there. Then AT&T data leak, 75 million accounts password prior to 2020 exposed, including 7 million current account holders. Similarly, Facebook data was leaked. Similarly, data of 715 million users in India being sold on dark web. And also there is Aadhaar detail was also, it is something which is which was in news, that 81.5 crore data was leaked, Aadhaar data was leaked. So all these are happening. And also I want to specify this ad. So if you see this ad, can you see this ad? So these type of ads appear. So this is with this news, right? So they gave this news, how beautifully it is placed. So I thought I should be keeping this advertisement with the news cutting. So there is a news of data breach, and in the just beside it you are giving your advertisement that securely store over 100 plus file types, so up to 2 TB cloud. So just beyond this news they are placing there, how beautifully it is placed. So that is again one aspect of digital marketing, right? But anyways, here I wanted to focus that how vulnerable we are, how vulnerable the data are, and there obviously is a concern regarding data security and data privacy. Also I wanted to specifically highlight this case. I think this is quite popular case, Facebook and Cambridge Analytica case, right? So Facebook, it exposed data up to 87 million Facebook users to a researcher who worked at Cambridge Analytica. So Cambridge Analytica is a political analysis company. It is like consultancy which worked on Trump campaign. So the firm got the data through a Facebook app that was basically a quiz. So there was a quiz on the, so we usually attempt various quizzes, or we play various games on Facebook. They take information about your, or and they try to get some information about it. So primarily there was a Facebook app. On the Facebook app there was a quiz, and they collected the information about various users. So it not only collected the data from the people who took the quiz, but allowed it to collect data from the Facebook friends of the quiz takers. So not only the quiz takers information was compromised, but also their friends friend list, from the people from their friend list, Facebook friend list, their data was also compromised. So however, Facebook prohibited the selling of data collected with this method, but CA sold the data anyway. So this Cambridge Analytica, they sold this information to the Trump campaign. So consequently, after the scandal exposure, this CA, that is Cambridge Analytica, was shut down, and the Facebook owner Meta very recently they agreed to pay $725 million to settle legal action over the data breach. So here we need to I wanted to emphasize 2-3 things. First is we need to understand how sensitive it is, the data, how sensitive it is, and how as a consumer or as a user, any app user, how how mindful we should be, how aware we should be, that we should not just play around with the app. We should be very conscious while we use these sort of apps. Also another thing, that how the data, the companies with such status, the company with such facilities, even their data is being breached. So again that also raises big questions. And the third important aspect I wanted to highlight here is that if you are going to do something like that, if there is some breach and if there is some lawsuit, you are going to pay huge sum. So that is something which is financial loss to the company, right? So that is something we as a company, as a marketer, we should be very mindful about, and as a user also we should be very mindful about using the applications. So moving ahead to the main discussion of this lecture, that is data privacy and security. So data privacy and data security are distinct but are related disciplines. Both are core component of companies' broader data governance strategy. So, what is data privacy and what is data security? Let us try to understand. So, data privacy focuses on individuals' right of data subjects. So, that is the user who owns the data. So, for organization, the practice of data practice is a matter of implementing policies and processes that allow users to control their data in accordance with the relevant data privacy regulations. So, data privacy means the user should have full control over their data to be shared in the sense their data to be collected, to be analyzed and to be used for the purpose for which it has been collected. It should not be compromised. For example, say company A has collected information from you with a consent, but obviously they told that they will use this data for activity X, but they have probably used this data for activity Y without the consent of the consumer, then obviously it is not acceptable, right. So, that is something which compromises the data privacy. Also, data security, it focuses on protecting data from unauthorized access and misuse. So, we need to understand these two aspects. One aspect talks about that company they have access of the information, but they are using using it for those activities that they have not seeked the consent. They have not taken consent from the users, and without the knowledge of the user they are using it for those purposes, right. So, that is different thing, but here data security is a problem when your data is lost, it is it is breached and it is sold to some third party, and now the third party you do not know, and that party may use the data for any purpose. So, nowadays what happens, so you give your Aadhaar authentication, you give your details to get your any thing you want to get, and then sometimes you find any crime has happened and the mobile is being registered with someone else, some other person, some migrant worker or something like that. So, that is something which is happening in a very rampant stage, and this is something which is of great concern. Data security reinforces data privacy by ensuring that only right people can access personal data for the right reasons. So, right people for the right. So, not anyone can have access on the information that has been collected by any company, and also not for any purpose the data can be used. So, if you have collected the data saying that this particular thing will be used for, then you should specifically use only for that. Data privacy reinforces data security by defining right people and right reason for any set of data, right. So, data privacy and security issues in digital marketing. So, there are various issues that happens in the domain of digital marketing also, because digital marketing, as the name itself suggests, it is all about digital aspects. So, digital means it is going to involve data, huge millions and millions of data it is going to use. So, when you have such a quantum of the data you have, then obviously your responsibility becomes very serious. Your responsibility becomes very concerning, that how you are going to collect those data, how you are going to store those data, how you are going to analyze those data, how you are going to use those data, how you are going to implement those data in various marketing activities, and whether you are doing it with the consent of the person from whom you have collected data or not. That is something of very concern. So, data breaches usually happens, as I have shown many of the newspaper cuttings. So, they happen when unauthorized individual they gain access to sensitive information, that includes contact information, marketing strategy details, financial data or so on. So, they happen due to insider threats. So, there might be having some insider threats could be there, or it could be by hacking the website, by hacking the system of any company, or it could be by uploading some malware or spyware into the system of the company's account or the system of the company, or it is being shared by mistake by some employee. Sometime it happens that something is shared by mistake. So it is again something which is very crucial. Or it could be physical theft, like the data has been stolen from the laptop or the PC or the computer. That is something which is called personal theft. Similarly, there could be phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are basically when the cyber criminals, they impersonate as someone, and this is something which is happening, which is very rampantly on Facebook and Instagram these days. What they do, they create a fake ID with some of your friend list. They will randomly choose any person, and they will create fake IDs with the same profile, with the same profile name and the same profile picture. The username obviously would be different, because the username that does not flash on the profile page, only the name flashes. So if you go and see the username, obviously you will get to know it would be something XYZ ABCD, something like that, right? But still no one is going so deep. So what they do, they create the fake ID and they try to communicate with you, and they will immediately ask you that how are you, and then when you respond, probably that person might be some senior to you, some relative, some friend, and they will ask you, I am in this serious problem, so can you please send me this much money. So they directly, so this is happening, something which is very rampantly happening with the social media, specifically with the Facebook and Instagram accounts. So they are basically impersonating someone, right? And they are trying to trick their victims by sharing their sensitive information. Also on WhatsApp nowadays happening, they try to talk to you, and they try to build relation with you, and then when you become very casual with that particular person, they will try to take some sensitive information of yours, and then they start blackmailing you. So all those things also happens very rapidly. Then networks eavesdropping is when you hackers intercept, deletes or modifies data that is transmitted from one device to another device. So this is something called network eavesdropping. So it is also called sniffing and snooping. So what when the data is, or the network is unsecured, then this usually happens. However, nowadays the good companies, the reputed companies, they use encryption of data, and they use, like WhatsApp, they use encryption on both end. That is why they claim it to be safe, right? But there are various networks which is not very much secured. In those networks, there could be a possible of hackers interception or something like that. Also the compromised third party app, this is very common nowadays. What is happening, everyone is using applications, apps on their mobile phones, the gaming apps, the various photo editing apps, the beauty shop app, beauty camera app, all those shopping apps. So what is happening, they randomly download any app, and with that app some malware or some spyware that also gets downloaded, and you might compromise your sensitive information through that particular app. So third party tool again are very dangerous because they are not authorized. However, it is said that you should always try to download from Google Play, but still you need to have a good understanding that which app you are downloading, whether it is coming from some trusted reputed company or not. So you should be always aware about it. So most companies aren't always aware about the full extent of apps that is being used by the employees, which actually complicates the cyber security strategy. So there are various problems with regard to cyber securities. So there are certain guidelines for good data practice. So if you want to if you are a company that deals with the data, there are certain guidelines that they should follow. The first one is data provenance. So the first one is, where did my data come from? We need to ask this question. Where did the data come from? Whether I am directly collecting the data from the source, that is primary data, or I am relying on some secondary data. So if I am relying on some secondary data, whether that data is from reliable source or not, or whether I have just randomly taken it from the website, because on these websites there could be compromised data, the data that is generated by AI, or the data that has been randomly created through Excel. So all those can happen, and that data might be wrong, and that if you are using those data for your business decisions, then probably you are in a big problem, right? So that is why you, as a company, as a marketer, you should think, you should be very conscious about it, that from where the data is coming from. Also the data privacy, what I am allowed to do in this with this data. So what I am going to use this data for, whether I have consent of that particular person, whether I am allowed to do it or not. So whether what I am allowed, so how much I am allowed, whether I have asked, whether I have taken, whether I have the consent of the person I have taken data from. So that is something again it is very important, right. Then comes data protection. How can I make sure that I don't lose the data? So whether my company have that infrastructure, whether my company have digital security infrastructure or not, whether we have that hacking proof or hacking free firewall, whether we are having the firewalls or not, whether we have proper encryption or not, all those things, whether there is a foolproof facility or not. So if you don't have that infrastructure, if you don't have the digital infrastructure, then you should not play with the data of the users, and you should, because you are going to compromise those data. So that is something which is unethical as well as illegal. So what is happening, so you don't have the capacity, you don't have the system to handle the data, but still you have collected data, and now you have compromised the data. So that is something which is very serious issue. Data preparation, that how do I go from data to be useful. So how the data could be useful. So when we say data preparation, it means data, after data collection we go for data cleaning, then tabulation, then analysis, then interpretation, and then finally we try to get some results out of it, right. So whether I am accustomed to those activities, whether I have resource for those, and whether those informations are actually necessary. The point is, for example, if your information is fair enough by taking say 4 information, so you have taken 8 information from the users. So these informations are not necessary, but still you have taken those information. Now you have to store it, and you should be concerned about these information, but since you are interested in these information, you would only think about this information, and you are going to provide full safety, full security for these information. But these information are again sensitive for the users, so it is sensitive for the users. So but again so it is better that if you need this much data, you collect only those data only. Unless and until you actually need the data, don't keep on accumulating data if you cannot handle, right. So if only you can handle the complete data set, if you can provide the security for it, then only you try to collect the complete data. Then there are certain data privacy rules. So there are some data privacy rules that should be taken care of. This is, I think, suggested by the IBM. So access, user should be able to access their personal data on demand. They should be able to update or amend that data as needed. So this is mandated by the rules and regulation of India as well as many foreign countries also. So this is mandated by the rules that user from whom you have taken the information, from whom you have taken the data, you should be able, the user should be given access to their personal data. They should have access, that they should actually check whether their data is correct or not, and if required, then they should be able to amend and update those data. So that is something which is very important, that you should provide access to the users. Also it should be transparent. The users have a right to know who has their data and what they do with it. So whether you have collected data, whether you only have the data or you have shared to with some analytical data analysis company, you might have some consulting companies which facilitates with you with data analytics probably, right. So whether you have shared those data with such companies, or you have shared with some companies or consulting agency or something, and what they are doing with it. So that should, all this process should be transparent. So there should be transparency in collection of data, analysis of data, and also storing of data that I was talking about. Consent is very important. So if you have taken information from the user, whether you have taken the information after taking the consent of the user or not. So the user consent you should seek before data storage, collection, sharing and processing wherever possible. Quality is again very important. So, organization should strive to ensure that data they collect and keep is accurate. So, if you have collected any data, you should keep on updating it, it should be accurate. For example, you have customer's address. Now, customer address you keep on updating, or you should give a facility to the users to update their information when and wherever they are required. For example, you have not updated the customer's address, neither did you give the opportunity to the user or the option to the user to update their address. Now, you are sending some card or some sensitive information, you are sending on the wrong address. So, that is something which is again not correct. So, you should always maintain the quality, the accuracy of the data. Also, collection, retention and use limitation, right? Collection, retention and use limitation. So, an organization should have definite purpose, this is very important, definite purpose for any data it collects. It should communicate this purpose to the users and only use the data for this purpose. As I have said, for example, if you have collected any data for activity X, then you should not use it for activity Y, because the customer has given consent for activity X only, he has not given consent for activity Y. So, this is happening very rampantly nowadays. So, you share your information with some while taking some loan or while taking some connections, maybe gas connection or maybe anything, maybe dish TV. Now, they share those data with say loan department of or loan company, any loan company, or for example, you have done some shopping, here, and for the purpose of shopping you have given your phone number, you have given your mobile number, you have given your address, because nowadays what is happening, without mobile number, without the address, the product will not be delivered. Obviously, it is binding and it is now you have to give your address and mobile. So, you give your address and mobile. Now, these information is shared with the loan company. So, any XYZ loan company they have shared. Now, this loan company is repeatedly calling you whether you need the loan or not. We have this facility, we have overdraft facility, we have credit card facility. So, now see the purpose, I shared it the information for facilitating the delivery of the product, but you have used those data, you have sold some those data to someone else and he is using for something else. So, that is something which is very important to understand. Privacy by design means you should develop a system in such a way that you facilitates privacy. So, privacy should be default state of every system, that should be something which should not be compromised with. So, whether it is any system or any process in the organization, privacy is something that should be of main concern. So, especially any company which is dealing with data, and nowadays almost all companies they deal with data for any marketing activities. Obviously, we are talking about digital marketing, obviously there are data involved. So, any company and almost all companies they deal with data. So, whenever you are dealing with data, privacy should be a default state, it should be acceptable and no compromise should be done in the domain of privacy. Any product of the organization designs or implements should treat users privacy as the core feature and key concern. It should be treated as the core feature and key concern for any organization. Also, security. Organization should implement processes and control to protect the confidentiality and integrity of users data. So, they should have proper infrastructure, they should have proper system to safeguard the confidentiality and the integrity of the user data. They should have proper infrastructure in such a way that that facilitates the storage, the analysis of the data. That is of something of very important. So, that is all about the discussion about the data privacy and data security. I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. This is something which is very important. As a user also, we need to be very conscious, we should be very mindful whenever we are using any website, any random website we are visiting, or any random applications that we are downloading, we should be very mindful. Also, we should also develop a system that we should not randomly accept any cookie setting that is coming on the website. We should take care of all those aspects. Then only probably this is something which is part of our daily routine as well. So, I hope you have enjoyed the lecture, and that is all for today. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much.